Hey, how you doing? What a Friday. What a Friday. Who's joining us here? Let me ask you this. What do Eskimos do on a Friday night? Net fish and chill. How about that one? Nice to have you with us this morning. The Friday edition of Morning Magic Stocks and Talks. Little news articles for you today, little talk, little magic cards, little finance, couple of jokes. What does it mean when you've arrived late at work 5 times in 1 week? That it's Friday. Nice to have you folks here in the show. The countdown, ready to go. Talking a couple of talks this morning. Why don't people like jokes about Friday anyway? Because they're weak. Nobody likes jokes about Friday. They're too weak. And everybody's out partying and I'm in bed struggling to fall asleep on a Friday evening. We'll be heading to the movies. Gonna go check the new Guardians movie. I'm excited about that. Should be good. Excited to go see the new Guardians movie this evening. Gonna be a little bit of fun. What are you folks up to? All right. Let's get ready to do the show. We got a good one for you today. We got a couple of news articles to run through here with you folks. This morning should be a good time. I don't go out on Friday night. I make appearances. It's Friday, May the 5th. Thanks, folks, again for returning the 311 of you amazing subscribers, fans of Magic the Gathering, the most incredible fans, people, friends, all are welcome here. We're ready to talk some stocks, going to talk some shop talk here this morning. It's Friday. I hope you guys had a good day yesterday and back again today for more. You like it? Welcome back. I'm instantly 70% nicer after 3 p.m. on a Friday. I'll tell you that. Maybe you are too. It just seems like everything just goes a little easier. Up until then, it's a bit of a rough stumble. But this morning, I want to thank you folks for joining. Once again, it's been an awesome week. An interesting time here on the stock desk and been enjoying myself reading some news articles and tracking the prices of Magic cards. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? And is there enough information out there for you? Perhaps there's just too much information. Let me do it for you. I'm doing it each and every day, Monday through Friday, here on the morning show. This is the bro to the D. You and me, we're going to see what's going on in the world of Magic the Gathering with your movers, your shakers. A couple of shakers and bakers, some news articles for you folks here today. Yesterday was a very interesting day. We brought you folks Star Wars The Gathering. What a fun show and what a fun bunch of cards that is. You can get yourself some if you go to StarWarsTheGathering.com, download them for free. Thank you for joining me there on May the 4th edition. That was yesterday. So Friday here, Friday edition, we've been wishing that we've been dishing out some Magic cards, some stock talk, and some news and some articles for you folks who like to enjoy supersonic particles. Let's do it. I gotta take a look at a couple of AI generated Magic cards this morning with you folks while we warm up, make sure the stream is working good. You know the rules. If you haven't done it here once before, let's talk about it real quick before we get started. When we're looking at these Magic cards, if there's any gibberish on the card, I know your time is valuable and you don't have time to waste, so you will hear this sound. That's right, the buzzing, cousin. You will hear the sound of the buzzer if it's a piece of something other than a Magic card. If it's a decent card, if it's somewhat playable, even if it's a little bit overcosted, you'll hear this sound. The dinger. The ding. It's a wonderful thing. Let's get into it this morning. Bring your cup of coffee to Brody. Let's go see what we can see over at the Robo Rosewater site. What have we dust my eyes, deceive me. Get the dust out of your eyes here, Brody. Let's take a look at this magic card and let's see what we can see. Let's be all you can be with the Brody. All right. The bro show here. Let's go. What do we got? Breakneck Sandstone. Heck, this card will break your neck. Man, do I have my work cut out for me today? I'll tell you that. People phoning saying, "Hey, we got to get you to do something special here this morning. What's it going to be?" Morning, folks. Let's check out this card. Breakneck Sandstone is a white creature. It's Drake. Drakey Drake. It doesn't look like a Drake. Too many feet on it for my Drake liking. All right. Maybe it is a Drake. What's the difference between a Drake and a Wyvern? Front feet. Of course, all you mythical creature connoisseurs of lore and anatomy will perhaps take a look at this card and say, I don't see a Drake. Drakes don't have front feet, but this one... All right, let's move past it. So far, I'm not seeing a Drake here. I'm seeing something else. It's got front feet. I don't like to see front feet on my Drakes. Well, what does it do for us? This first striking, as long as Breakneck Sandstone is attacking, you control an island. I don't know about this. I think it's word salad. Let's give it a little bit of salad. Friday salad. I get a cup of coffee here for you folks this morning joining. How do you rate this? Fair, unplayable, OP word salad? Got to give it a little bit of word salad here this morning. A little word salad, as long as it's attacking, you control an island. Really? It's more of a statement than a condition on this card. Mountain. The beautiful mountain. Look at the palette. Look at the beautiful palette. Beautiful color palette on said mountain in front of us here this morning. Beautiful to have beautiful and amazing people here on the morning show. Look at the valley. Let's have a sip of the coffee. Imagine us gliding swiftly like the condor down the slopes of the mountain pass, upon the river, and into the mountains. Very nice card. I can get behind this, no problem. Let's do it. That gives me a ding. That gives me something to talk about. It seems fine. Seems just fine. Let's go with this next one here. Ashling's Meercrest. Ashling's Meercrest is a camel. Thank goodness we got a camel here this morning. A 1/4 with Death Touch. Fish? Oh no, this is getting worse by the second. It's a fishing camel. Yeah, it is. It's got a fishing lure hanging from its bridle. When Ashling's Meercast enters the battlefield, put a vigilance counter on target non-land permanent. A vigilance counter. I'll take it. A vigilance counter. I don't know why it says fish. The fish part is kind of throwing me off here. Got me a little bit perplexed. Perplexed with the fish. Is this camel good enough to be fishing with the swims or swimming with the fishes? I don't know. Death Touch fish. The fish part's got me bugging. But when everything else looks fine. A 1/4, 4 mana, 1 red and 3, the camel fish. Fishing Death Touch. Let's go. No, any gibberish whatsoever. We fail it. We said we would. Let's give it some word salad. Let's say it's word salad. Fair. 69.8% of people said it's fair. How do they explain the fishing part on this fishing camel? I mean, he does have a lure in his mouth. I don't know. Benson's here. It's Friday. How are you doing? Nice to see you. We're checking out some JPEG, some GIFs, and some AI-generated magic cards this morning. The Haphether. I'm not sure how to say this, but I'll say it anyway. The Haphether. 1 green and 2, tap target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains vigilance and till end of turn and can be blocked this turn. Tap target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature. So you tap it, then you untap it, and then it gains vigilance until end of turn and can be blocked. And it does it to your opponent's stuff. So there's no upside for you. Ugh. I mean, functionally, I guess it's okay, but why would you tap something just to untap it? Tap it in, Happy. Tap it in. You want to see that camel? Let's go back. Let's go back to the camel. I know, it's a camel. Ashling's Mircrast. Ashling's Mycrast. This is some crastination here this morning. Unmitigated crastitude on this Mycrast camel. Morning, Anger Collections. Yo, yo, yo. Thanks for joining the show. It's the bro. Thanks for joining the conversation. This is the morning show where you can share thoughts and opinions. I share mine and you can too. I like to see the comments flowing. Let's get going. Looking at this camel, Desh Tush Fish. The fish part is what's got me here. Brody, draw me a camel. You want me to draw you a camel? I like it. Well, we're looking at this Hap Heather. Tap target creature and opponent controls until end of turn, and then untap that creature and it gains vigilance, and then until end of turn it can't be blocked. Seems like there's people living in trees here. Very strange card. I'm gonna give this let's give it a ding. I mean, functionally, the card works. It does do some magic, but it's not good. C'est de mal. C'est de mauvais card. Bienvenue au deuxième breakfast. Le petit déjeuner de Brody Alfonso. All right. Fair, unplayable, OP, word salad. Let's give it the unplayable. Yes, 69.6% of people agree that this card is unplayable for you and for me. What about this one? Seraph of Kirkkeep. Nice. The flavor. You know, the Rock of Kirkkeep, the many things of Kirkkeep. Oh, a little mesquite. Get out of here. All right, 6 mana for an artifact. Create 2 1/1 red and green Phyrexian horror tokens with haste. Exile those tokens. How bad is this? It's terrible. It's no good. Brody, draw me a camel. Kobold of Kirkkeep. This is Seraph of Kirkkeep. It makes 2 red and green Phyrexian horror tokens and then exiles them for 6 mana. You get this artifact that makes 2 tokens and then it gets exiled. Functionally, fine. Sure, let's give it a ding. Why not? Except for the fact that it's unplayable. It doesn't do much for you. Unplayable? Yes. 78.4% of people say it's unplayable. Oh, the swamp. This card's nice. Good morning, Savannah Lion. Julio Morgan. Nice to have you here. Astrid Media. Where were you yesterday? Second breakfast. That's all I got to say. We were late yesterday. Yesterday was a delayed stream. It was good, though. We brought you Star Wars The Gathering a little later in the morning show. It was second breakfast. We ran the show at about 10 a.m. Catch up with some of the other viewers super fast and a few other folks. I'm sorry I missed you yesterday. Had to bump the time slot. I might have slept past the alarm. Forgot to put it on, actually. That's right. What do you call it when you have arrived 5 times in a row at work late? Friday! That's what you call it. All right, let's look at this swamp. It just seems fine. And what do Eskimos do on a Friday night? Net, fish, and chill. Michael Superbacker's back. Yes, it's good. It's Yabba Dabba Doo Day. Peridian of the Land. Let's check this card out. This 3/3. We got a Dagger Wizard. Ooh, Golgari. 5 mana, 3/3s. When Peridian of the Land enters the battlefield, it deals 5 damage to target player or planeswalker. Just deals 5. Straight up Dagger Wizard. That seems like a card. Let's give that a pass. That seems just fine. How are we going to rate that? Fair card. And this guy here, Sage. Smells funny. Hey, good morning. Should have said in Discord, yesterday was the best show you ever did. Until now. Looks like Shrek. Tommy Siddons, how you doing, buddy? Astrid Media. Hey, I didn't plan sleeping past the alarm. I didn't. The phone died. It was on the nightstand next to me, plugged in, but never powered on because it is dead. And charging. All right, let's check it out. Yesterday was the best show you've ever did till now. Badunked. Let's check out this Elvish Sage. It's okay. Yesterday was a fun show. Star Wars The Gathering. We did get to take a look at some of those cards. It was fun. Check the replay. You'll like it. It's a good one. It's fun. We had some new viewers on yesterday. It was great. I really enjoyed it. It was a little later in the day so that like a few other viewers could get. I was actually contemplating like I missed the time slot, so I was like, I'm not going to do the show today. I guess I missed it. And then Mrs. Alphonse was like, no, you got to do the show. You just do it a little later, you know, do the show. So I did a little research, got some stuff together. It's worth checking out the replay if you like Star Wars. Elvish Sage deals combat damage to a player. Create a 1/1 green squirrel token for each swamp you control. Wow! A 1/1 for a green and 2 ogre. It's an ogre. It's an ogre. Whenever Elvish Sage deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 green squirrel token for each swamp you control. Fine. Another magic card. Another fine time on this magic card. And what else? Togo. This is the one that's got Togo. It's a Volver Dragon. 2/3. Yeah, we looked at this one. This is this one you can't kill it. It just keeps coming back. Flying Death Touch. At the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 2 life. When Togo Soldier dies, return to the battlefield under its owner's control. So it just returns itself. And then it says Togo Soldier can't block. If Togo Soldier was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 3 1/1 counters on it. And the kicker cost is 4. Cuatro. Mi custa cuatro. All right. This card was good, a little bit overpowered, but nevertheless, a heck of a magic card. It could be the best magic card that you ever did see. Thank you, folks, for joining me. I'm 70% nicer after 3 p.m. on a Friday, for sure. Oh, yeah, it's Friday night, time to take a probiotic and maybe some Pepto-Bismol. It's Friday night, which means I'm pounding shots at the club and getting crazy until the break of dawn, except by pounding shots, I mean drinking sleepy time tea. By the club, I mean my couch. And by getting crazy, I mean watching Good Eats and break of dawn at around 10:30. I'm heading to see the new Guardians movie this evening with T. Freezy and company. It's going to be a good time. I can't wait to see it. We're catching up on the Guardians of the Galaxy just last night. A couple of the other things. What's the worst thing that can happen on a Friday? When you realize it's still Thursday, right? A couple of jokes here to start the weekend. I don't work Fridays. I'll make some appearances. How about you folks? Do you want to take a look at the price of Hasbro stock? We should do that. It's been upsetting, the Apple Card. Not if you're a Hasbro employee. Actually, let's take a look at it. It's kind of a dumper. Right? Everybody's been talking about the Hasbro stock price is just making such a comeback, right? It was doing so well. They've they've defied all odds and gravity included. Like, look at this price here. I see what people are saying. Like, let's look at it on a 1-day chart. All right, price of Hasbro stock. Let's look at over the week. Over the week, what happened? No, Brody, you're such a geek. All right, over the week, it's up just a touch. It's up 15% in a month. It was down to $52 right here on this time last month, April 5th. And since then, it's gone up 15 whole percent. In that time, why has it changed? Well, it's because it's changed because they had their earnings report, which came out favorable. Hasbro also bought themselves an award, naming themselves the most somethingest company out there. The most ethical, I think, is the latest. Yeah, they're giving themselves some props for being super ethical. You're a heck of a Magic the Gathering content creator. Oh, are you talking to me? Yeah, Gaming Bob's in the house. You talking to me, Gaming Bob? Hey, you playing games with me this morning? Gaming Bob, let me tell you something. It's Friday. Reminds me of the Volvers printed in the invasion block, huh? You got stuff and things to do. I hope you have an awesome phantasmal day. Pleasure. Thank you, Savannah Lion. What do we got here, Benson? What are you looking at here from Card Kingdom? Qu'est-ce que c'est? All right, the Hasbro stock has been bumping up in price 15% over the week. What's this card? Anavolver, 39 cents. From Nemesis? Is this a good card, the Anavolver? What are you trying to show me here, Benson? The Volver? All right. $60 a share. I thought the target was going to be 42. It was supposed to be $42, and then all of a sudden they turned around and said, look, record sales. We did really well. So the company that is Hasbro, that is the corporate vacuum of the corporate, it's the extension of the long arm of the corporatocracy. I'm starting to realize that the Hasbro company and the gaming company, everybody's in Minneapolis right now. MagicCon Minneapolis is happening this weekend. I'm sad I can't go, but there's a lot of people there, like Family the Gathering, Zebex, and a bunch of cosplayers. There's folks there going to have a good time. Anybody else heading over to news on Minneapolis, MagicCon Minneapolis? Good luck to everybody out there playing at MagicCon Minneapolis. You folks, enjoy your time. Have a fun one. I wish you could do that. Some interesting facts here, though, when it comes to travel. The travel restrictions in and out of the United States will be lifted for many folks who were hoping to travel in and out of the United States, including professional tennis players, professional Magic card players, and the like. Folks, I think it's the 11th day of this month that the United States travel restrictions will be changing and loosening and allowing for more free flow of folks coming and going across the border legally. And that includes going to conventions, Magic Cons, tennis matches, and the like. Hasbro stock up 15%. How's it going to do for the rest of the year? It's questionable. In the last year, we've been on a steady downward trajectory, and though I wouldn't start celebrating in the end zone too much, because here's the support level. We were talking about support just the other day. There's like this level here that we could draw across here. The last time we saw like this type of a downward action was right in the middle of the last crisis. And now we see a breakthrough to the south side of this support level. What is that level? What is that number? Let's check this number right here. This number is $49. And now it's up to $59. $49 and $52, $59. Yeah, we're at $59. I don't know how, like, are we? I don't know if we're going to be back in the $100 mark soon. This all depends on how many people are going to be buying the new product. Long-term debt decreased, short-term debt increased. What else we got? Good comments here. Keep them coming. Gaming Bob says, I don't believe we have seen the last of price changes for Hasbro of the financials. There are some grave concerns. Even though revenue is up, profits are down. I couldn't agree more. Let's look at the Mattel support levels, hey? That's a good point. Let's look at that. It's not good. Move on. Putting it out there on the show that Volver is an actual creature type, not AI made up. Oh, Volver. Gotcha. Let's look at the Mattel stock. I like this comment. Major competitors. How's Mattel doing? Mattel stock price $17. It's a cheaper one. Let's take a look at it over the maximum. See, they must have more shares out. Mattel is. This is an up and down chart. What do we got here? $30. All the way down to 10. Back up to 45 or 50, then down again to 20, then up again to 35, back down in the heat of the yes, 2020, then we're back up to $20 and then cruising over here to where we are now, $17.61. Does this look like a company that's desperate to make a deal? Mattel support levels. Mattel's got, I went through the report. If you want to get together behind the scenes we can go over. It makes for not so exciting a viewing. Indeed. I gotta do some renovations this weekend, so I'll be heading to the Guardians movie this evening. I gotta do some fixing up and renovations this weekend. Yes, gotta stay busy. Holy smokes, there's never enough time. Grab your coffee. Support levels on this one? Well, I guess we could look at that. What do we got here? Let's get the big blue. Brody's big blue line. Brody's got a big blue line on his chart. Let's do ceiling level. What do we got here? $45. This is the highest it's ever been for Mattel stock. I would draw a line maybe right here. It's been below this a couple of times. If we start to go south with Mattel, I think Mattel is probably fearful that this is going to keep heading this way. Hence, they made a deal with Hasbro to bind up some intellectual property with the Barbie and a few other brands. Hopefully, we're going to get some new products. We're going to get the Barbie Monopoly game, right? Because that's one that kids are going to love. So I think they're hoping to boost their brand. Michael Superbacker's got comments for me. What do you say? I didn't realize they had restrictions up. More like Renaissance there. Yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a while. But that's going to allow for more people to travel and go to these magic conventions from other countries. Foreigners, folks, tourists, people who want to come to the Great White Wild West and participate in some of the fun that's happening over here. So Magic the Gathering stocks. Hey, price of Hasbro here this morning. Mattel's not doing so good. Hasbro, this chart looks scary. Like, how would you sell this? I mean, I guess if you let's just put the shoe on the one foot. Let's put the shoe on the smaller foot. How would you sell this? Holy smokes, folks, look at the opportunity here. I mean, this chart has been I know it's been heading in the downward trajectory for some time now, but you know, this is just a buying opportunity at the best. Look at this. It's aggressively headed in a downward trajectory. It is. It's going to take a while to correct this ship. I don't know when we're going to see some more support, but nevertheless, that's what we got. All right, let's do one article, then we'll hit your movers and the shakers here this morning. Let's do it. This insane new combo tech gave me easy MTG wins. Alrighty, got a picture of Chandra up here. Folks over at MTG Rocks giving us something to talk about here this morning. Let's have a look here. Insane new combo tech gives us easy wins. Here's an article for Benson, the man who loves tech and combo breaker. While we tend to cover Magic topics that impact the MTG community, whether it's the newest hot topic, hot pocket, or hot rocket, that a card has trended overnight, we rarely get the opportunity to cover our own exploits within Magic's community. Admittedly, the tournament that was won, relatively small, 22-person regional qualifier, but I won it with some tech cards that may push a serious Pioneer archetype to the next level. It's not just this tournament, though. Its new tech has allowed to win at locals without a hitch and placing multiple records in Magic the Gathering online events that broke even in prizing or did better. And of course, the 1-0-2 drop challenge where nothing went right. To go on strong a 4-2 run in one of the most competitive Pioneer tournaments to date before dropping, since I had no shot at top 8, I wanted to attend the tournament. Ended up winning the next day. Wow. Definitely doesn't solve all of the archetypes problems, but this is why I think you should consider trying Chandra Hope's Beacon in Pioneer Lotus Field combo. Who was it on the comment section that was talking about Lotus Field? There's a couple of folks in the comment section on this channel who bring up Lotus Field time and time again. Even on the Rudy video, folks were saying, you're sleeping on the Lotus Field. This is such a good card. Hexproof. Enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you got to sacrifice 2 lands, and it taps for 3 mana of any one color. All right, let's take a look at this Lotus Field deck. Lotus Field combo. I can literally write about this deck for thousands and thousands of words, but only have so much time, so this kick things off with a quick introduction on how the deck works and the perspective of someone who hasn't really seen it before. Like me, the Brody. For deck lists pertaining to recent big finishes, here is a list for recent ones. Magic the Arena does not count. Which should give you the gist of what the most common deck lists look like. Card on this list. What do we got here? Hidden Stirrings. Hidden Strings? 2 mana. This is a sorcery card that says you may tap or untap target permanent. Then you may tap or untap another target permanent. Cipher. So this will this is just as a twiddle field. Reworded back to the camel. You got to do us a short on that one, Benson. Cipher says, then you may exile this spell encoded on a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. All right. So the objective here is essentially to get 2 iterations of Lotus Field into play, and that are targetable with Hidden Strings. For reference, Hidden Strings allows you to tap or untap 2 target permanents. The best way to do this is to use your Thespian Stage to copy Lotus Field so you can untap those lands with your Pour Over the Pages. But the second iteration of Lotus Field can also bring something like a Vizier of Tumbling Sands, Hope Tender, or Voyaging Satyr. That's not summoning sick. You can try to play with 2 Lotus Fields the tradition way, but this takes a lot of time and will commonly be too slow for the Pioneer format. If your opponent is in a removal heavy strategy like Rakdos or Izzet, you should generally try to copy Lotus Field with your stage, since it's more difficult to interact with this. Additionally, in removal heavy matchups, you're generally better off holding onto your Vizier and cycling it instead of running it out. All this, of course, relies on your judgment. 2 Lotus Fieldish cards represent 6 mana that you can use immediately, but it also represents the potential for Hidden Strings to float an additional 4 mana when targeting 2 sources that essentially represent 3 mana on a tap. Once you get this online, you want to cast a sequence of spells that win the game. These sequences are pretty complicated and take some reps to understand, but Emergent Ultimatum is generally a big spell that you want to build up to. Yeah, any of the Ultimatum spells should be backbreaking and game-winning. You can even get a game off of casting Emergent Ultimatum without having 2 Lotus Fields accessible, but these lines are generally quite tricky to pull off and not always there. That said, resolving your Emergent Ultimatum more often than not means that you'll win the game as long as you know what you should be searching for with it, even if you aren't winning on that turn. All right, an example of this from the Regional Champion Qualifier that was won with this deck using Emergent Ultimatum to find Sphinx of the Final Word. That Sphinx of the Final Word is the big Sphinx that says your stuff can't be countered. An 8 Pyromancer deck that had a lot of counterspells based interaction. It took a few more turns to convert into a win since it did not have the land set up to properly go for it, but the Sphinx shut down all the interaction and made it difficult for them to swing without losing creatures. I'll discuss some more common piles that you should be finding with Emergent Ultimatum, since that part of the reason is why Chandra's Hope's Beacon is in the deck. This will only be scratching the surface of the deck itself. Okay, so the Emergent Ultimatum. Let's check it. This is the Ultimatum. That's the Golgari. Oh, no, okay. Black, green, blue. Search your library for up to 3 mono-colored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of these cards. Shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost. So you get to go look for 3 things with different names that are single-colored, and then your opponent puts one of them back in your deck, shuffles it away, and you get to put the other 2 onto the battlefield. Wahoo! A big part of piloting Lotus Field combo properly is because being able to play it in deterministic Emergent Ultimatum kills To explain this in more detail, we just first need to look at what an emergent ultimatum actually does. Yeah, we like it. So, all right, the most common deterministic emergent ultimatum. All right, what's this one? Something we're going to get. Behold the beyond. Discard your hand, search your library for 3 cards, and put those cards into your hand, then shuffle. You get to play that for 7 mana? Can you play that off the ultimatum? I guess so. Omniscience or Niscience. And Dark Petition. So, to reiterate, in order for this pile to guarantee you to win the game, you need to have the cards listed in this sequence available in your library. All right, so you've got Behold the Beyond into Omniscience and then Dark Petition. Omniscience. You must hold the cards in this pile. You need to have the cards listed in this sequence available in your library, to have at least 1 blue mana open, and to have spell mastery off of Dark Petition after resolving any other spells on the stack, and finally make sure your opponent doesn't have any graveyard hate. Most common card that your opponent's going to put back is Omniscience. If they don't, you should assume that they have some removal for it, and as long as they aren't tapped out, Leyline Binding and Beside You, Who Endures, are the most common cards that fit this category. In the case that they give you the Dark Petition and Behold the Beyond, you should always resolve Behold the Beyond first, because it will discard the card you search for with Dark Petition. Otherwise, it usually means that you will have Spell Mastery online by the time Petition resolves. And while you're on the topic of order of resolution for emergent ultimatum targets, you should always resolve Behold the Beyond first and Omniscience last. Good morning, Dual Brains in the house. How you doing? Is the coronation of King Charles getting media cover in Canada? I think so. Is that happening today? It's such an unimportant event, right? It's funny because like we're still tied to we're still tied to that. We have it on our money. We don't have a constitution. We have a charter, right? I think it's kind of interesting. Good conversation. Morning, Dual Brain. Nice to have you here. It's tomorrow. Just wondering, given Canada's ties to the UK. Yeah, I'm sure. There was a time when news media would cover stuff like that, and I'm pretty sure like they would stop schools and people would watch something like that in the schools and be like, hey, look, this is an important historical event. And now it's sort of like, I remember, do you remember like the teachers wheeling in the TV on the cart? Did you remember that? Like you'd come into class and then like the teacher would be gone and you'd be like, where's the teacher? And you'd be sitting there and all of a sudden, they'd wheel in the TV on the cart with the VHS. They're like, oh, it's movie day. Oh, we get to watch a movie. That means we're not going to be doing any like intense classwork. I'd love that. Video day, movie day. Or maybe there'd be some like pretty important you remember the TV card, right? They don't have that anymore, the TV card. And you knew when the teacher come back with the TV card, there was something going on. You're either going to watch it on the news or you're going to watch a video on it. Right now everybody just has stuff on their phone, right? They probably got to take the friggin' devices away, put on your phones. But back in the day we had the TV cart, the VHS machine, and they would probably watch events like that were televised in the classroom. It wouldn't happen very often, but it'd be kind of a surprise. I remember one time when the teacher brought a telescope to school. That was pretty cool. And then we all met up at the school later in the evening to do some star watching and watch an eclipse, I think it was, or there was some solar event that was happening that was pretty important. So likely, I would say now there's just news media. I don't know how much. I don't know. It's just everybody's got it on their own phones. Yeah, we'll probably get it here. Might be forced to watch it. I remember the TV on the cart, watching Voyage of the Mimi. I love that. I loved watching some nature stuff. Yeah. Yep, it's tomorrow. Hey, the coronation. You know what's funny, and I want you folks to. Speaking of that conversation, I want you folks to look up like what's happening right now. Here's another fun fact. Facto. Look this up for yourself. Operation London Bridge. Okay, that's a code word, and I'm not even making this up. If you haven't heard of it, look up Operation London Bridge while I read this article. In the case that they give you Dark Petition and Behold the Beyond, you should always remove Behold the Beyond first. That's because they will discard the card that you search for with Dark Petition. Otherwise, this usually means that you'll have Spell Mastery online when the petition resolved. While you are on the subject, in order to resolution for emergent ultimatum targets, you should always target the Behold the Beyond first and then Omniscience last. What do we got here? Balaged Recovery, a sorcery. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. They showed us Bill Nye. Then I met him at a book signing and he was a total jerk. Search for hidden strings. Omniscience and Balaged Recovery with your Behold the Beyond. Pay attention to how much mana the hidden strings can generate, because your fourth card from Dark Petition usually depends on this factor. All right, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Pay attention to how much mana the hidden strings can generate, because on your fourth card from Dark Petition, it usually depends on this factor. You need to hard cast Omniscience, so if you need more mana, find another hidden strings and a Pour Over the Pages, Vizier of Tumbling Sands, in a situation where you only need 1 mana and the Pour can untap 2 Lotus Fields. Use your hidden strings and other mana makers to untap your Lotus Field and float the mana. Cast Omniscience. All you need to do past this point is target Balaged Recovery for free and get your Behold the Beyond back, which can be used to cast and search for up to 3 new cards. It's straightforward to win the game past this point, but lines differ depending on your win condition. We will go into win conditions momentarily. The opponent gives you Omniscience. If the opponent gives you Omniscience and it looks like they have a mana to remove it, resolve it last. This will allow you to use your search spell to find another emergent ultimatum that you can cast for free, and then in short window before your Omniscience gets destroyed, the Omniscience, and if the Omniscience doesn't die, once again, it's very easy to win the game. When you do past this point, heavily depends on the board state and the cards that you have access to, which is beyond the scope of this article. All right, Pour Over the Pages. Bill Nye cards, so much fun to open. Draw 3 cards, untap up to 2 lands, then discard a card. Pour Over the Pages for 5. If you have a card in your hand that ensures you win the game under an Omniscience, another deterministic pile you can search for is Behold the Beyond, Pour Over the Pages, and Omniscience. If your hand has no action, there is a chance that Omniscience, Pour Over the Pages will not do anything. But if you have guaranteed action in your hands, can easily win the game, as well as other selections that can copy a previous sequence. Discuss Omniscience in play, plus Behold the Beyond should always win the game. Behold the Beyond? Piles with Chandra, Hope's Beacon. All right, we're finally getting to it. Loving all this talk on Pioneer cards, especially cards from Shatters over Innistrad. What Bill Nye cards? This is the Chandra, 6 mana Chandra, the Hope's Beacon, new Chandra. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, copy it. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn. +2 for her is add 2 mana of any combination of colors. A +1, exile the top 5 cards of your library until end of turn. Your next turn, you may cast an instant or sorcery spell from among the exiled cards, and the -X Chandra's Hope's Beacon deals X damage to each of up to 4 targets. Up to 4 targets. That's crazy. Some old school Bill Nye cards from the flea market. When does the flea market open again? I can't wait to see some of the tag swap videos coming out, Ed. All right, this gets us to the first practical use of Chandra's Hope Beacon. In Lotus Field combo matches where your opponent has a lot of discard-based disruption, like Rakdos midrange, it's very common to get a low emergent ultimatum target. Chandra Hope's Beacon is not only an extra target if you don't have your Omniscience or Behold the Beyond available, but it can also make emergent ultimatums that don't have floating blue mana attached to more deterministic. This is done by utilizing the +2 ability of Chandra, but float blue mana, put her passive ability is also incredibly important. The one that copies, right? When combined with Hidden Strings and 2 Lotus Field sources of Chandra, Hope's Beacon can immediately represent 10 additional mana. This is because Chandra's copies of the first instant and sorcery spell, and you cast it after it resolves. The first Hidden Strings essentially floats 4. This is because while the 2 Lotus Fields make 6, you need to spend 2 to cast the card itself. However, the copy is free. So you get 4 off the first activation of the Lotus Field using 2 mana to capture the strings, and then you untap them both and cast the Hidden Strings. When you have limited ultimatum targets for your various reasons, this can be guaranteed mana that you need to win the game. You can set up a deterministic kills with Chandra piles, but these typically need outside variables to line up. If examples like this, you do not have floating blue mana and you have some sort of follow-up play to your hand, you can add Chandra to your ultimatum pile along 2 searchers and find Hidden Strings in the search. This will allow you to generate enough mana to get to the follow-up. In that case, Chandra and Behold the Beyond resolve. You should be able to find both Hidden Strings and a follow-up, which should always be able to win the game. This can also help map kills when you cannot access your graveyard. Bala Ged recovery is a crucial part of the more common deterministic ultimatum kills, being under something the rest in peace forces you to take alternative routes. Chandra can be the piece that helps find a route that doesn't require you to Boseiju a rest in peace. In a void where you have no floating mana and nothing in your hand, Chandra can be much better ultimatum target than Omniscience. These piles can be tricky since you need 2 mana sources to continue playing, which usually results in you having to choose Hidden Strings, pour over the pages into your pile, amounting to nothing if you don't draw anything off the pour. Omniscience and pour over the pages is generally your best choice in this scenario, but Chandra can prove a much better chance of winning the situation where you get it and pour over the pages instead of Omniscience. If you don't get anything off the pour of the pages, Chandra can dig 5 cards deeper into your library. This plus 1 ability, it doesn't always mean you'll hit something, but seeing 8 cards is much better than seeing 3 in these situations. In a likely scenario where you find a payoff, Chandra's static ability can copy it, granting a ton of resources for you to utilize. Don't worry about exiling your Mastermind's acquisition this way. While exiling both Omniscience and the acquisition can be awkward, you can cast the acquisition in your graveyard, but sometimes you're in a scenario where this isn't a good enough option. Chandra can act as a win condition. Mastermind's acquisition. Style 006. Are we picking the best Chandra? Well, it's the let me talk to this Style 006 here for a second. This is the Chandra that it's picking. The Chandra Hope's Beacon, the big one, the 6 mana one. I guess you could, this is what the deck calls for. I mean, this is basically a review on a deck that somebody won an RCQ with and was putting up a lot of wins. So this is their lines of play, and this is the mix up the cards that they put together for us. Style 006. Thanks for joining us here this morning. It's Friday. It's a good day here. It's the May the 5th. What goes by slower than a boring movie? Friday afternoon. Thanks for joining us here, everybody. Give Style 006 a warm welcome in the chat. Thanks for joining us. The show where you can talk Magic stocks. You can discuss Magic cards, your favorite interactions. You can share some opinions. All are welcome here. I appreciate you for joining us and jumping in on the conversation. So we're talking about the Chandra of Hope's Beacon. I guess that's the one that... It's also Cinco de Mayo. Yeah. Hey, did you look up Operation London Bridge is down? That operation is running as we speak. Chandra is an alternate win condition. Let's see. The other French military defeat. They lose every battle in war. Let's take a look at the Mastermind's acquisition. This 4 mana sorcery has modes on it. It says choose one, search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. So that's like the tutor. Or choose a card you own from outside the game, put it into your hand. You get to consult the sideboard. There is a major debate within the Lotus Field community regarding the best win condition. Mastermind's acquisition is the most traditional one, usable to find something in your library in a pinch. Its main purpose is to find an approach of the second sun out of your sideboard, which can easily be cast twice when you have an Omniscience or a Liar Principle of the Drowned, plus some hidden strings available. This is some creepy art on this card. Peer into the Abyss for 7 mana, 3 black and 4. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life rounded up each time. Another popular win condition is Peer into the Abyss. This card runs much better as a fail-safe, since resolving it safely with some floating mana usually wins the game. Mastermind's acquisition can be a bit clunky in comparison. The trade-off is that this card cannot win through graveyard hate. You'll have to remove it with your channel lands, and requires you to use hidden strings to tap your opponent out. That's right, this card can also be used to tap your opponent's lands and force out interactions. Since your win condition is casting this card repetitively, targeting your opponent to kill them, I've also found that the card can be a death sentence with an opposing Sholdred, the Apocalypse in play, which has scared me away from using it. The Stone Brain! This is a shout out to Ed the Dual Brain, the thinkingest man in the game. I think the Stone Brain is awesome. I have tried playing this in legacy builds. It looks pretty fun. Style says, it's a conspiracy. Their wins just aren't advertised, or at least that's what my French history said. The other Vietnam lost World War I, nearly lost French and Indochina, surrendered to Japan, World War II lost, Napoleon battled Waterloo. Yes. Okay, so even consider, have you guys, the Louisiana Purchase, that's like another, yeah, I call it what you will, but if you look at the Louisiana Purchase, there's an entire region right down the center of the United States that belonged to France. It was sold for a tune of, I think, $1 million. Theodore Roosevelt and the other founding fathers were the ones who made that deal, as far as I can understand, and that brought the states together, where you guys were able to unite all the states from one side to the other for the purchase of the Louisiana Purchase for the low cost of $1 million. Could have been referred to as one of the biggest blunders in French history. One of many blunders in French history. But that was what gave way for the Louisiana Purchase and the uniting of the states, and the founding fathers to say, swear off and throw tea over the side of the boat in Boston and just say, enough, we're not paying taxes. We have no ties to England, like Canada, right? Canada should have done the same thing. Like, except we're stuck with the Tories and what do they call them? We got the two parties, the Tories and the something else's. Yeah. And the Privy Council, right? Canada, it may be too late. Napoleon was going broke, so he had to sell it. Was the Jefferson administration. Thomas Jefferson. That's right. I misspoke there. My bad. Hey, my history is not so bad. It's not terrible. As a Canadian, where they don't teach any U.S. history in schools, they don't even want you to know about it. They teach Canadian history, and we hear about things like the Blackfoot Trail, Anthony Henday, another great Canadian, the Hudson's Bay Company, and a bunch of other stuff that doesn't mean anything to folks in the major world. Yeah, I think I'm not doing too bad. Majored in history, focused on early national period, colonial period, and the end of Revolutionary War. Ask me anything. Awesome. We're talking about C11. We're talking about the coronation that's happening tomorrow, and the question was, are we getting any coverage in it? Benson's got a major in history, so I appreciate that. That's awesome. I do not. I have a self-taught degree from a self-discovered school that doesn't exist. Let's take a look at the Stone Brain, a card that I like in Legacy. It's good. This card's 2 mana. It's incredibly powerful, and it reminds me of a card like Jester's Cap. 2 mana to cast it, 2 to activate it. You exile the Stone Brain, choose a card name, then you name something. You search your opponent's graveyard, hand, library up to 4 cards with that name, and then exile them. That player shuffles and draws cards for each exiled card from their hand this way. Activate only a sorcery. This can gut your opponent's deck. If you're playing against The U.S. considered invading Canada in 1812. Is that the year where they burned the White House? I think they would definitely consider invading. Now there's yeah. I would say probably. Weird timing. I heard C11 just passed is relevant for Canadian content creators, right? Let's check out the Stone Brain. They're the addition to this deck. Little history today. Friday history. I love it. I love it. I love it. Keep the discussion going. It's good. I like it. I learned something good from you folks in the chat every day. So Chandra's Hoax Beacon can function as a win condition that similarly to Peer into the Abyss. And avoid where you only follow up is either the Peer or the Chandra. The Peer is still better. But when run alongside the win condition, I usually run it alongside Mastermind's Acquisition. Chandra can get you out of jams where your Mastermind Acquisition gets exiled through Go Blank or targeted sideboard hate like Slaughter games. The Stone Brain or Necromentia, this deck is quite popular in Pioneer, so it's common to run into cards like this. Chandra's ultimate ability allows you to deal 5 damage, X damage to up to 2 targets, where X is equal to the loyalty you spend to do this. If you minus 5 Chandra, you can immediately deal 5 damage to your opponent's face, killing Chandra in the process. Past this point, you can use Bala Ged Recovery to return Chandra to your hand and cast it again, dealing 5 more damage to your opponents. Then there are 3 copies of Bala Ged Recovery in your deck alongside Liar. Disciple of the Drowned can typically cast Bala Ged Recovery 6 times, which is equivalent to 30 damage dealt this way. If for some reason you're up against a life gain deck like Angels and need more damage than this, you can copy Bala Ged Recovery with Chandra's static ability to return another Bala Ged Recovery or something else. Maybe that's a good second Bala Ged Recovery. You need to reset your Chandra if you do this. If you need to create mana, for example, which usually means you will need to use Otawara, the Soaring City, to put it back into your hand. This will, however, allow you to infinitely recur cards from your graveyard to your hand, providing you with the sources to do it. For reference, this is a very easy to do under a Resolved Omniscience. So that 6 mana Chandra is like 5 damage. It's like a fireball. I actually think that's pretty cool. Did you have you heard of Operation London Bridge is Down there, Benson? London Bridge is Down? Like Peer into the Abyss, the Chandra Hope's Beacon will not be able to function as a win condition under Graveyard Hate. 5 damage is rarely enough to do the job independently, meaning you will have the need to cast this card multiple times. Chandra and Shoulder the Apocalypse. Admittedly, the biggest reason to run Chandra in your Lotus Field deck is Shoulder. The Apocalypse turns out certain cards in your deck depending on your life total. Drawing 3 cards with Pour Over the Pages can commonly kill you, since you will also lose 6 life, plus the 2 you lost to your draw stub. Chandra's biggest boon in regards to this common thread is considering that Rako's midrange is considered to be the best deck in the current meta by many. You should expect to run into it at least once per tournament. Chandra allows you to access ultimatum piles easily so that you do not require drawing cards. This can replace Pour Over the Pages in your piles, providing you have the relevant follow-up and create enough mana to win the game. In the case where you need to unlock your Pour Over the Pages, Chandra's Hope's Beacon can kill Sholdred. It's not very difficult to win with Pour Over the Pages once you get yourself a favorable position, but this is a corner case that can be relevant. I have, for reference, won multiple games because... That's right. Yes, the plan into motion. It is. It is the key word that, and I would imagine that plan is like, it involves. See, I've read it. Okay, so there's parts of that plan that are available. Okay, so they literally, you can look it up, and there's parts of that plan are available, and sort of what goes into motion. Now that particular motion, it's not like a one-day thing. This is going to happen over the course of several years, where certain people that were in power and in favor get traded out or rotated out for other folks. Yes. So that this whole coronation that's happening tomorrow falls part into that plan into motion. Yes. So that's sort of where we are at in the plan. But like, that's what we get to see publicly. It's like everything else. It's like, this is what's happening today, the coronation and so on. But it's all the stuff that's happening behind the scenes at the same time that we don't get to see, that we don't get televised, that are happening without anybody doing a YouTube channel about it, right? It's not they come out and say, okay, today we're going to be doing this differently. When not to play Chandra. Grease Fang. Okiba boss. Grease Fang is a rat creature. At the beginning of combat on your turn, return target vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Return it to the owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Chandra is a powerful tool against disruption-based decks. Aggressive decks that give fantastic redundancy in the scenario where your main win condition becomes inaccessible. The matchups where Chandra is not great, however, are race-based ones. Grease Fang is low IQ. I'd rather play a deck based on Colossal Dreadmont. Pioneer is a format that offers a lot of powerful linear strategies, like Lotus Field that ignore your opponent is doing. Linear strategies like Lotus Field that ignore what your opponent is doing and try to create an absurd amount of pressure that they cannot overcome. Decks like this include Grease Fang, Mono Green Devotion, Gruul sometimes, and Lotus Field combo itself. Chandra isn't great here. Your number one goal is simply to present lethal as quickly as possible, and unless you're using it to play around some crazy tech like Stone Rain, getting this is in your hand is the crucial opening turns isn't going to do you any favors. If you're expecting to run into a lot of these matchups, I would move Chandra to your sideboard. If you want to use it at all, an extra Hope Tender, Voyaging Satyr, or Baral Chief of Compliance can go a lot further here, offering more consistent turn 3 wins when you open them with them. Anyway, while there's a lot more room to provide details when utilizing Chandra and combo sequences, there's a lot more room to go into regarding this deck itself. So, creatures on my opponent's board that gummed me up, like Thalia, Spellquester, and Redain. You think this card could work well with many of the situations that bricked you up? Give it a try and see what you think. All right, good article. A lot of kind of a lengthy article and a deck tech on a pretty cool card, but the Lotus Field card, the Chandra card, how to play it, this seems like a powerful iteration. What is the headline of this one again? Holy smokes. Insane new combo tech gave me easy Magic the Gathering wins. Prizing is cool. If you can win, if you can at least get into prizing at an event, it feels good. Hasn't happened to me too much, but every once in a while it does. Good morning, Mrs. Thomas. Thank you. Happy Friday, everybody. You showed up. Let's get on to your movers and your shakers here this morning. It's good times. We're going to do a recap for everybody here. All list. Let's look at the all list here. Holy smokes. Maybe look at the vintage list here for a second. Shahrazad flying star. All right. For vintage today, we've got Shahrazad, Falling Star, Bronze Tablet, Jewel Bird, Demonic Attorney, Contract from Below, Tempest to Free, Chaos Orb, and Dark Pact. For all of the above and below, we're going to be looking at your movers and the shakers for Friday, May the 5th. I'll open this up and view a little bit more. Top daily winners. What about the weekly? We want to look at the weekly change. Holy smokes. Golly. Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale, Guardian Beast, Taiga, Mox Jet, Contract from Below, Mind Twist, Live, Time Vault, and Lightning Bolt. What else do we have here? Elephant Graveyard. All right. Let's have a look here. Top winners. Expensive stuff here on the daily, right? What else we got on the weekly? Anything else that we see worth discussing for the week? Which list looks better? The top weekly winners? Or the daily winners? Let's go with the daily winners. There's a couple cards here I wouldn't mind conversing about with you folks here today. Here is your movers and the shakers here this morning. Mill Master's in the house. The master with a plan here with my friends and the fans of Magic the Gathering, the folks that love the game as much as I do. Tracking these prices of Magic cards. Is there enough information out there? Or is there just too much information? I need a tabby. All right. Coming up first on the list is the Mox Jet. This card showing just around $10,000 price tag, right? Oh, for a mere $10,000. The Beta Mox Jet, right? It's coming up at the top of the pile here this morning. What are we got to say about it? Beta version, these black bordered jets, eh? Wow. Expensive card. Let's take a look at it. This one adds for black. Now, it's usually between, interesting kind of a thing. It's usually between the jet and the, okay, Mox Sapphire, the one that makes blue mana. Well, everything that makes blue mana is always considered a little bit better. Just because it makes blue mana. It casts your blue stuff, right? You want to cast your Time Walk. You want to cast your Time Twister. You want to cast Ancestral Recall. You need that blue mana, and blue has always been a little more favored with busted cards. So like the Sapphire being the most expensive one, pretty much always. Then it comes down to like the metagame, whether it's a black heavy deck, prolific in the metagame, or a red heavy deck, prolific in the metagame. That's usually what I see. It's either the Jet or the Ruby that come kind of second place, so to speak. The Pearl is the white one, and it usually ends up last. The Emerald is kind of not far behind that. And then you've got like the Jet and the Ruby always kind of rallying for first and second or third place. So the black border version of the Jet, pretty nice card. This is the one that we looked at just the other day that pairs up with Force Field. Yeah, we looked at this one yesterday, Force Field. We can't look at the Jet without Force Field. And that was so funny because yesterday, like, we were talking about Star Wars Day, and it's like, may the Force Field be with you, right? See the Gobstopper pattern, little Easter egg. We talked about it just for a little bit yesterday. You see this guy holding up this Gobstopper, kind of a pattern here. Well, that's actually, I think he's actually holding up this Mox Jet. The two of them kind of go together, or like warding it off. That's the Force Field around the Jet, perhaps. Hard to say what Dan Fraser was thinking, but it's there. All right. Deck's using it. Blue Tinker. Right? This is why the Jet is so expensive. Because Blue Tinker's playing it. And it's sort of a top tier deck in Vintage right now. All the Vintage decks, Paradoxical Outcome is blue. And a lot of the Vintage decks throw a Mox package in there. It's just like one of each of the Moxes. But when like something like maybe this Oath of Druids deck that runs red becomes a little bit more prolific, or maybe there's like a Sneak and Show deck or a deck that runs red primarily as like its main color, then the Ruby will end up being a little more expensive than the Jet. But right now the Jet seems to be in favor because right behind the Sapphire, that's the one that everybody wants to play. So if you were going to buy a Mox Jet, when's the time to do it? Probably not now, while black is in the top percentage of the metagame for Vintage. Let's just head on over to top 8 just for a second and see what's going on. Vintage. When was the last tournament we had? Yokohama, Japan. April 3rd. Bizarre Aggro. Paradoxical Outcome. Yeah. So the Bizarre deck, that's the one that rivals the Mishra's Workshop. And then the Bizarre deck, and then Jeskai. See, Jeskai's got red in it, right? With this guy. Where's the little buddy? Dreadhorde Arcanist. See, when Arcanist is dominating the format, you got Ragavan's Arcanist, and this third path Iconoclast. See, this deck does better than the Mox Ruby will be a little bit more prolific. But right now, Paradoxical Outcome seems to be at the top of the field with Blue Tinker as well. But the this Jeskai deck, anything with red in it, if it seems to do well, then that'll actually push up the price of the Mox Jet. Or the Ruby rather, excuse me. So if you want to get yourself a Mox Jet, you're gonna have to wait until that becomes not so prolific in the metagame. If you're looking to buy a Mox Jet or get into one, you gotta wait until it's not the hotness. You gotta wait till the Mox Ruby or a red deck starts to do a little better in the vintage circles. Then the price of the Mox Jet will come down, and then you could probably pick one up because everybody will want the Ruby, right? So that's the way it goes. The number 2 piece of Mox in power, I guess, behind the Sapphire, because all these other... Oh, Mono White doesn't play. I wonder, was Mono White... Let's see here. Let's just take a look at the White Plume Adventurer deck here. Legacy banned, Vintage legal. So White Plume Adventurer is legal in Vintage. So there is, in fact, first place for Mono White Initiative in Vintage. So that's okay. I mean, if it's banned in Legacy because, you know, Delver players cry, and, you know, Delver can't be number 2. Delver needs to be a top tier deck. It needs to be a little better, right? So let's see here. We got the Mono White Initiative playing Thalia, Garden of Thraben. That's the 2-1 that makes everything cost 1 more. I want to see Black Lotus, Chrome Mox, Lotus Petal, Mana Crypt, Mox Emerald, Mox Jet, Pearl, Ruby, Sapphire. So you'd think that the Pearl would have been... Let's just take a look at the Pearl just for a second. Because like with the Initiative deck giving a little bit of support to the Pearl, yeah, the Pearl is hanging in there. $4,000. All right, so we got the Black Jet, the Pearl, a couple other things. Wrath of God. Oh, great. Here's a card that I want you folks to look at with me. And I'm very interested in looking at this card here this morning. We're going to get to Imperial Seal for Michael Superbacker, and then we're going to look at this card, Wrath of God, and then we're going to get to the Library of Alexander. I want to look at some of the art on this card, okay? So this is the original art for Wrath of God. This is on a revised copy. Oh, this is on Unlimited. It's coming in at $293. It's the original board wipe. Now, all creatures in play are destroyed and cannot regenerate. Where's the original printing of it? I want to see the alpha beta. All creatures in play are destroyed and cannot regenerate. All right, this is back when they talked about buried, right? So, as I remember it, we used to have destroyed creatures, right? You could destroy them and then bury the creature. Now, as far as I remember, now we have destroy target creature. We don't use bury target creature. We use destroy target creature, exile target creature. Regenerate was a thing. So, you know, this says destroyed and cannot regenerate. So they had to put that specifically on the card because you could regenerate destroyed creatures. Exiled was the whole remove cards from the game entirely. Now we have the keyword exile, but the interesting thing, the way I heard about buried, was like when graveyard order mattered, buried target creature meant you put it on the bottom of your graveyard. It doesn't go on the top of the graveyard. If you buried a creature, it would go on the bottom of your graveyard. That was important when graveyard order matters. Now, we don't have buried anymore, and graveyard order is mattering less and less, but it's still relevant with certain cards. The Wrath of God, the original board wipe card, would just straight up destroy stuff. It had to say it can't be regenerated, but what I guess the point that I want to make is like, what about this article that Wizards of the Coast got themselves, right? This, the most inclusive or the most ethical company out there. So there is a what the heck is the name of the artist? Boneface. Okay, so I was watching Guardians Against the Galaxy. Taserface. I am Taserface. All right, where am I going with this, Brody? Okay, so there's in Wizards of the Coast attempt to make Magic more inclusive. This is the scary part of the iceberg. Okay, there's a lot of things to be said about Magic that I love and that are essentially just great long-term staples of the game. But the fact is like, when you were, let's take a look at a card. Okay, let's take a look at a card like Unholy Strength. this whole conversation is going to be, disclaimer, this is going to be thought provoking. Okay, so right now, before you watch any further, I'm going to share an opinion of mine that I think is going to be kind of thought provoking. So saddle up. So let's take a look at Unholy Strength. Let's just take a look at this card. We got let's go look at the revised copy. Let's look at the original revised copy. All right, so this is what we got back in the day. Back in the day, this is what we had. We had Unholy Strength. You see the pentagram in the back. All right, and then that was considered, you know, too controversial, so we got rid of it, and we was replaced with like a version that didn't have that in the background. Right? Where's the 4th edition? 4th edition, yeah. So this is what we got. We had Unholy Strength, right, with a pentagram in the back, and then it was like, oh no, we can't have pentagrams and demonic symbols on Magic cards, so we're going to take it off. And then we got this. All right, now we've also got Wrath of God. All right, so here's the depiction of God, or, you know, some god of some form. You can see the face in the Magic card, and then like it's a pretty great art. Quentin Hoover, right? Pretty awesome art, right? And you can see like the laser beams or the power coming right out of the face here. All right, so this is you can see the viewership just dropping off, right? Because we're gonna talk about religious symbols on Magic cards, right? So this was okay, I guess. You know, there was not too far, but like, let's go. This is okay. This is not okay. This is okay. And then a card like this. This is not okay. All right? I think you folks know where I'm going. So this card was banned because of reasons. Now, it was banned. The art on it is, you know, it's racist, I guess. That's the claim. I mean, it's not just the balancing that Wizards is trying to create, because back in the day Magic was trying to be balanced. We had this card, we had Bad Moon, right? And then we had the Crusade, essentially the same mana cost of 2. This one gives black creatures +1/+1. This one gives white creatures +1/+1. This card is okay. This card, not okay. All right. Now, this card is okay, and this card, not okay. This card is okay, but let's just take a look at some of the alternate art on this card. Okay, so let's go there. I want to take a look at some of this. So here's another depiction of Wrath of God. Here's another depiction of it. So I guess it depends, like Taserface, Boneface, right? You got artists like Boneface. So in Wizards attempt to make Magic more inclusive, so back in the day, it was like, we got to get the religious symbols off of Magic cards. Demonic Tutor is another example of that. Here's a card. This is okay. This is not okay. This is not okay because of the pentagram on the forehead. And then when you get into like the newer version, the Alpha Beta, not okay. Revised, not okay. There's a version where they removed it. They just removed the pentagram, so not okay. Religious symbols gotta go, right? Except, how do you deal with a card like Wrath of God? Now, let's just take a look at some of the other art on here, because I want you folks to look at this, okay? And this is like what I say when there's like cool things happening in Magic the Gathering, like there's old cards. Now look at this. Here's a Baphomet, right? There's like a Baphomet. Like, I guess it depends who your god is, right? Who is God to you, right? What's up, Adam Hamlin? We're discussing the movers and the shakers for the day. We're discussing controversial Magic the Gathering card art, cards that were okay and then not okay. So let's look at them. Let's look at the direction that Wizards of the Coast has been moving with their art choices and their depictions on Magic the cards. Who is this one? Timaine Rogers. So like, I guess you got the religious symbols here, perhaps, right? I don't know what we see here. What are we looking at here? What exactly are we looking at? Right? I guess it depends like on which side of the religion you are. So in Wizards of the Coast, this is the part that I kind of find funny, is like in their attempts, to me, you want to hear my opinion? It looks like we got to take the Christianity symbols off of Magic cards and anything that depicts God, and then we got to add some like of the opposite symbols and refer to those as gods. That's what I see happening here. To me, that's what it looks like. That's just my opinion. It could be a controversial opinion, but it looks like, so like it's completely ironic. It's coming full circle, because you look at this card, Wrath of God, right? Here we got it. It's a white card, right? This is a depiction of Heliod. He is a god. Okay, I guess it's a wrath of. Legends speak of the lost coastal polis of Olatin, whose inhabitants humorous engraved the sun god Heliod. So there's this depiction of Heliod here on this particular card. Then we've got like a Baphomet and like some other creepy stuff. The eyeball and the pyramid on there. So like, this is okay. According to the Wizards of the Coast, this is a new printing. This is the Psychedelic Show. This is a new version of the Wrath of God. So like, I don't understand how these decisions get made. It doesn't make any sense to me how that's okay. This is okay, right? The depiction of the Wrath of God on a white card. And then when we get into some of the other cards like the Unholy Strength, like we just looked at with the symbols in there, to me it seems like it's wishy-washy all over the place. In fact, one might also argue that the inclusion of satanic symbols on the Magic cards that we're seeing being printed in this day and age is an attempt to make the game more inclusive. That's what I see. That's what it looks like to me. That's just my opinion. The inclusion of satanic symbols on Magic cards by Wizards of the Coast is their idea of making the game more inclusive. Yeah, and the removal of other religious symbols from Magic cards is their way of making cards more inclusive. Go figure. I think it's like to me, I think it's like not a good move. I think it's a bad move in the direction. I don't think that's the type of inclusivity people had in mind when they were discussing like what cards to print. Just my humble opinion, Could be right, could be wrong, but that's just what I see. There's a card on the movers. This card is up a bunch. Wrath of God. What do we got here? The unlimited version? Nevertheless, which one would you run? Would you like the new? Which Wrath of God do you like? Do you like the original one with the the face depiction destroying all the creatures, or do you like the new one? There's plenty of different versions of it, right? Some people probably here's another one. Destroy all creatures that can't be regenerated. This is another depiction. This looks like almost like I think it's Merciless Eviction. Pretty cool card. And then the Pro Tour set. There's a bunch of different depictions of it, but this one is far. Oh, another Wrath of God. Yes, lots of different depictions of this card. Lots of different art on it. This one's like got just a big blast coming down from the sky. Amonkhet invocations, right? But I wonder what is Wizards of the Coast. What were they thinking with this one here, right? Now, is the Wrath of God, is it the eyeball that's coming to like wipe out these satanic symbols, or are they the gods? I don't know. I guess it depends who you are and what your choice of art is, right? And what side you're looking at. I would rather play this one because it's got the god that I identify with. I don't know. It's an attempt at being more inclusive. That's what I see. That's the only way I can make sense of it. Imperial Seal. Let's move on to something else. I'm blathering too much about ridiculous censorship on Magic cards and art that's controversial. Here's a card for Michael Superbacker. The man who owns one of every single Imperial Seal out there. Interesting way to collect. P3 key needs a reprint. P4K? Four Kingdoms? Portal 4 Kingdoms, perhaps? Look at this card. Search your library for a card, then shuffle that card, put it on top, you lose 2 life. The Vampiric Tutor at sorcery speed, right? That's essentially what it is, right? And any of these versions of cards that were printed in another set that do the same thing, these are interesting. Morning, morning, Adam Hamlin. Let's check it out. This card's up again. I think, what was this card worth at one point in time? How much was it? What was the all-time high? This can't be right. 78,000 bucks? No, that can't be right. This can't be right, Brody. Tell me it's not so. Well, the Imperial Seal was $1,000, $1,900, maybe $19,750, $2,200, and now what is it down to? It's down to about 15, 16, 17. Wow, at the vendor store you can get it for $1,949 for a mint condition copy. Has this ever taken a hit? eBay for $1,300, maybe $1,700, $699, $899 rather for the Imperial Seal condition, $1,700 for brute force games. People are still trying to like sell this card for a couple of bucks because the reprint really gave it a hit. Where's the other version of it? There's only a couple. They printed the Judge promo, this one here. This is the promo, and then the Double Masters edition. That one's $100. You can get this card for $100. Imperial Seal. Oh, for heaven's sakes. Of course it was a death threat. What did you think was in the envelope like that? A wedding invitation? Magistrate's assistant. Interesting lore on the card like this. Okay, this is a tutor. It's 1 black. It's really good. It's not instant speed, but it is in sorcery speed. Let's see where we're using it. Commander decks everywhere. Players were so happy when they got this a reprint, right? I think there's a few people that were probably disappointed. I'll tell you what. I know how it feels because the Imperial Recruiter. We can't look at Imperial Seal. Imperial Recruiter. We got to look at Recruiter. Okay, let's look at the Portal 3 Kingdoms Imperial Recruiter. Because here's a card that I also had, okay? I was considering, because when I was getting into Legacy, I wanted to play Goblin Welder and Painter Servant, okay? So this card works well in Painter Servant. And it got sort of the same treatment as, it's funny, it's not even mentioned here. Commander decks, showing all the commander decks using it. But the Portal 3 Kingdom Imperial Recruiter, like the Imperial Seal, like this Imperial Recruiter was sitting at around a $500. $500, $350, yeah, a bunch. As far as high as $499. There was also a Judge promo, so they gave it the Judge promo treatment. This is the one I picked up when I was getting into playing Legacy Painter Servant, because you could actually use this one to go get your combo piece. So this one was up at around $200-300, and then it got the reprint and down to $70 now for this one. So this was like, if you see Wizards doing this with Imperial Recruiter, you knew it was only a matter of time before they did it with Wizards Imperial Seal. See, this is a $6 card now. You can get it for $6. Yeah, $6.99. And this one came out, people thought, yeah, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be $50, $60, $70, $80. And now it's like, went from $25, $20. Now it's down. It's like a bulk mythic. It's so sad, right? Hit the reprint button. Perfect marketing gimmick for Chinese New Year 2024, Year of the Dragon. So the Imperial Recruiter sort of got the first one where they said, okay, some of these Portal 3 Kingdom cards are not on the reserve list. We can reprint them. You know, let's get the Imperial Recruiter reprinted. They did the same with the Imperial Seal. I see that the Imperial Seal went from about $2,500 down to $1,200. Maybe, yeah, under $1,000 now. You can get it from the vendors for $600 and $750. for the Portal 3 Kingdoms version, a card that is, is a rare. Got a lot of controversy over it. A lot of players who were holding on to this and using it because they had it, maybe paid a handsome price for it. They got rug pulled when this one got reprinted. This is what's called a rug pull. It happens. It happens. It sucks and it feels bad when it happens. So if you want to get the fun into your collection, you got to watch closely and see sort of what happens. Know what cards maybe to avoid. If you've picked up a copy of this one, Imperial Recruiter is one of the biggest disappointments. Say it 3 times with me, coach. Imperial Recruiter is one of the biggest disappointments. I'll say it one more time. I would agree with you that Imperial Recruiter is one of the biggest disappointments. Huge disappointment. As a person who owned a couple of copies of the Judge promo, because I used it in Painter Servant, that was sort of one of the hardest cards to get in the Painter Servant deck. Was the Imperial Recruiter. It was like the unlock piece, the tutor piece that let you get the Painter Servant. Library of Alexandria. Here we go. Here's a $2,900 land. This one draws a card. It taps for colorless mana, and this thing is incredibly good because you can bury your opponents in card advantage. All right. Draw a card. Activate this only if you have 7 cards in hand. So if you're at 6 cards and you draw during your draw step up to 7, you can activate this one and draw another one. Right? It keeps your hand full. It keeps your mitt quite full with many cards. It's very good at doing that. You can also combine it with cards like the Urbo Tomb of Yawgmoth to make it tap for a black mana. It's pretty good. Decks using it. Banned in Legacy. I don't know if it'll ever become unbanned. It's just there is so much card advantage for this card, but I can't talk about this card unless I talk about Strip Mine, because this is like the reason they printed Strip Mine, don't you know? So like the answer to making this card fair and balanced was to print a card that deals with it, because we didn't have Strip Mine until we had Library of Alexandria first. So let's look at Strip Mine. From Antiquities. So first expansion of Magic the Gathering was the Arabian Night set, where we got the Library of Alexandria. It's a really good uncommon too, right? It's uncommon that draws you an extra card, and then people were like, well, how the heck do I deal with it? If I'm not playing red, I can't Stone Rain it. So they made Strip Mine and Antiquities the follow-up expansion set that allowed you to play this in any deck. It's a colorless source of mana. Tap it to destroy target land, which is also banned in Legacy. So the two of them just too powerful, you know, even though one deals with the other one, they're just both too powerful with left unchecked. Strip Mine combined with the Ramadak Excavator of the Crucible of Worlds can create an entirely decent lock, a card that just destroys any land. Doesn't have to be basic or non-basic. We got Wasteland a little later that said destroy target non-basic land, so that was a little bit more balanced. But Strip Mine again was the original card that was printed just to deal with this Library of Alexandria because it was so good, and there was no colorless way to deal with it. So to make the game fair, just like Bad Moon and Crusade, you know, Wizards balancing out certain cards on either opposite sides of the color pie. By making it fair, we got a colorless land that destroys land, and we got a colorless land that draws cards. Deck using it, well, any deck that you basically want to run it in is banned in Commander. Can't run it in Commander, can't run it in Legacy, but you can run it in Vintage. Banned in all other formats. Man alive, it's just such a sad thing. It's a really good card, though. You can play it in Old School, and you can play it in Vintage. Decks using it, Jeskai Control. This is the red deck. With Luros of the Dream Den, Ragavan the Nimble Pilferer, Dreadhorde Arcanist, Lavinia the Lazurious Renegade, and Third Pass Iconoclast. This is a good card. Making the soldier tokens, right? Yazam Djinn. Yazam. Expect my visit when the darkness comes. The night I think is best for hiding all. Ualada. An art by Mike Teeden. Mark Teeden. An art card by Mark Teeden. Tidin. It's too bad that you could literally draw a picture of a loaf of bread and someone somewhere would find it offensive. It is too bad, Adam. It's quite incredible. I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? Like if we're gonna start banning cards based on their art and removing them from Magic the Gathering history, I think we're probably doing ourselves a disservice. At the same time, why are we going to go the other way and just start purposely putting provocative artwork into Magic the Gathering cards? Yeah, Jusm Dejin. At the beginning of your upkeep, Jusm deals the damage to you. Let me just take a break and speak to Art for a second. There's a fellow out of the UK named Boneface. Okay, this is the dude. This is the dude who does some art. Okay, here. This is some of the art that this Boneface guy does, right? So why is it that we're gonna start banning Magic cards with religious symbols on it, but then we're gonna purposely hire Magic card artists that put other types of symbols on the cards? I find it interesting. And some of these okay, so let's look at the look. I hate to give this too much publicity, but where's the picture of the dude? There, this is the dude. This is the Boneface person. This is the Boneface artist that does this type of art, right? Okay, what are we trying to? Okay, so is Boneface the character with the mask on, or is Boneface the person behind the camera? So we got this is who Wizards of the Coast contracts to make Magic the Gathering card art. Don't talk about bread like that. It's very offensive. So we've got this dude with a mask on, scrawny legs with a spike bat walking around, acting like tough guy Thursday at the skateboard park. This is I'm so embarrassed, won't show his face. Well, that's who I am. I am Boneface. So this is at a kid's playground. This is okay, we're at the skate park dragging the bat around with spikes in it, and this is Boneface. This is a Magic the Gathering artist. This is somebody who Wizards has hired to provide card art. You don't get to know the person's real name. You just get to know that they're scary and intimidating, and they carry a bat around with spikes in it. So this is Wizards' choice. Oh yeah, and a little kid skateboarding next to them. Yeah. So I find this strange that this is the choice. This is more inclusivity, right? I think it's weird. I don't understand it. Somebody help me to understand. We got this Dejin, right? Let's take a look at this. I think it's crazy. I looked that up and I'm like, oh wow. Okay, so we got to remove certain symbols. We got to add other symbols, but that's drawing in a certain, I mean, I don't know who shows up to a Magic event with a Boneface mask and a spiked bat. I don't think they're going to let you in if you're carrying a spiked bat. Look at the cover of Korn's self-titled album. I'll have to check it out. But you got to remember 13 plus here, okay? You got to remember ages 13 plus. So keep that in mind. You're talking about a game that is right on the packaging, ages 13 plus, okay? So let's keep that objectivity in mind, right? 13 plus. It's a kids game. It's made and marketed to kids. It's like marketing beer to children. Is it okay to put beer on there and say, yeah, it's cool? I don't know. I mean, you decide. Buy it or you don't buy it. But that's sort of the ethical question that you got to ask yourself. It's a game. It's a kids game. It's for 13 plus. Children of the age of 13 are going to be expected to see this stuff, handle it, take it to school with them, and that's the type of maybe they're going to start wearing a bone mask to school. I don't know. Perhaps I can see why teachers were taking away the Magic cards with Unholy Strength and Demonic Tutor and any of these creepy old Magic cards. They were like, hey, what is this doing in the school? This is not what we want, right? And then we started banning cards that had religious symbols on them and redesigning them with symbols for other religions. Interesting. It's just the way the world's changing. I mean, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying I notice it. And you probably notice it too. Something to notice about this card by Mark Tedin, the artist who has brought us some incredible art. The first 5/5, so Jesm Djinn. How many lottery tickets? How do you market lottery tickets to teenagers? I don't know. It's a good question, but they'll try and figure out a way to do it, right? You put them in cardboard wrappers. You put them in wrappers, and you say some of them are expensive, right? And then you get them to buy them and open them. You seal them in a package and you call it gaming. Right? That's where it's funny because Magic gets into the play. Boneface fake tough guy. So much as accidental graze somebody with your spike bat at instant speed, call the cops and rung up for assault. Right? Yeah, like it could be there's a good case to be made for gambling, right? And promoting gambling to minors. Like you put $1,000 limited print run Ragavans in a pack and you say, hey, you could get some of this too, right? But Mark Tedin, the first artist to illustrate the 5/5, showing us here with the Jesm Djinn, and the first 10/10, which was the Polar Kraken. We got to look at some Mark Tedin art. My favorite artist, Polar Kraken. You guys want to look at the very first? You want to look at the first 5/5? That's Jesm Djinn. You want to look at the first 10/10? That's the Polar Kraken. And like, look at the size of the polar bears. I remember, oh no, the first 11/11. What was the 10/10? Leviathan. Let's go with the Leviathan. Okay, so the 10/10 is the Leviathan, not the Kraken. But it is also a Mark Tedin art. It is. Don't worry, I wasn't leading you down the wrong path there. The 11/11 is also a Mark Tedin art. So the first 5/5 was the Jesm Djinn. The first 10/10 is the Leviathan. He also did the first 11/11, which is the Polar Kraken, and the first 15, the one you know as Emrakul, the spaghetti monster, right? Mark Tedin. They give him all the big creatures. He does a really good job depicting large and in charge creatures. Very cool, right? Interesting fact. The first 10/10, the first 5/5, the first 15/15, and the first 11/11 given to us by the same artist, Mark Tedin. So this card's good. It's a 5/5. It costs you 2 black and 2. You can get it out on turn 1 fairly easy with a Moxen of any kind and a Swamp and a Dark Ritual. This was a really powerful card that closed out games really fast. It deals 1 damage to you during your upkeep, and it's a 5/5, so it's a big beater that's easily castable on turn 1. If you've got a piece of power, a Lotus Petal, and a Swamp, and a Dark Ritual, gets you turn 1 5/5. It can close out the game really fast. It's really good. It's playable in old school, and that's why this card is so expensive. You're like, let's look at the lists. Okay, Legacy, yeah, nobody's playing it in Legacy. Why wouldn't they be? I don't know. Well, there's just much better stuff out there, I guess. But Commander, it's also legal in Commander, but there's just better options. So Vintage, legal. I'll tell you what, you won't even probably see this played in Vintage too often. You'll probably see it only played in Old School, okay? Oh no. Got issues here with my pen. Pencil. Brody's Epic Pencil. We're going to be stuck with an arrow here. My eraser isn't working. Dies the King Solomon, right? Dies the King Solomon. How about that? All right. I got a... I don't know how this happened, but I must have I got a glitch. There's a glitch in the matrix. Brody's arrow is stuck on. We're looking at your movers and the shakers here today. Jesm Djinn, Icy Manipulator, Time Twister, Word of Command, Fire Elemental, Nicolas Bolas, Smoke, Bayou, Urza's Natural Selection. Let's just do a couple more here for you. Friday, a recap. Mox Jet, Wrath of God, Imperial Seal, Library of Alexander, Jesm Djinn, Icy Manipulator, and cards that do the same thing. I can't help but talk about this card. Like, I'm really getting kind of puzzled with why this arrow won't go away. Brody, maybe I'll just try and close it. All right. Icy Manipulator. This card is, what do they call it? Poly artifact? Mono artifact. That's right. Mono. It taps target artifact, creature, or land. A decent card. Okay, $1,200 for the alpha. Ooh, it's an uncommon. Expensive. This used to be, and when this got reprinted in Ice Age, everybody was super stoked. I like the art on it. But Icy Manipulator was played with Winter Orb, right? So where are we here? Let's go. Icy Manipulator Unlimited. Let's go with the Unlimited. I like this art. It's like the favorite art for me because it's got that sphere on it, that really shiny ball. That's great about the art of Jesm Djinn. It's unsettling. That's what's great about the art of Jesm Djinn. It's unsettling. Yeah, it's good art. It's quite cool. I looked up Bill C11. Is this the one that guarantees Canadian content online? Which is the reason why politicians are starting YouTube channels now, right? This is what happens. Like a guy like myself, you know, you get up, you put in your time, you put in your work, and you like, you know, you slowly climb that mountain of grease to try and reach more people, talk about the world, have an opinion. Yeah, what's going to happen is with the C11, it's like it's going to push Canadian content, especially French-speaking content, to the top of the algorithm. It's going to force YouTube to start showing those videos to people. And it's going to give them a little bit more circulation because it's supposed to be fairness and content circulation. But what happens is, like, you know what becomes unfair when people use that complete bill to like promote their own YouTube channel. So now you got politicians starting YouTube channels too now. It's great because they're considered Canadian content, and then they'll get promoted to the top of the search because it's called fairness. Yes. Right? Because that's what we want to see more of, right? Less magic cards and entertainment and individual content creators. We need more people with microphones out there screaming at us of what they're doing, what they're doing good for us, right? What did you find, Mrs. Thomas, about Bill C11? What am I missing? Leave me a comment. I love to hear what you say. Okay, so cards with Icy Manipulator. What do we use this one with? Well, Winter Orb. The Winter Orb was the card that we'd use with the Icy, because this was one that said continuous artifact. So it's pretty great because we had mono artifact, which you could use once, poly artifact, which you could use multiple times, and then you had continuous artifact, an artifact that kept just doing its thing continuously. Players can only untap one land during each untap phase. Creatures and artifacts are untapped as normal. So this was like a card that cost 2 mana, sort of like a counterpart to Howling Mine. There was this one for 2 mana, and then the Howling Mine for 2 mana. They both said, as long as Winter Orb is untapped, players can't untap more than one land during their untap phase. So with the Icy Manipulator, you could run this and tap down the Winter Orb during your untap step and able yourself to untap your lands. Another worthwhile card looking at is this one, okay? And it's surprisingly we got a reprint of this in 5th Dawn. It was a card that I never expected us to get a reprint of, but it's $9 for the Relic Barrier. This is a good card. You can get the same effect there a little quicker than waiting for your Icy Manipulator combo to come online, because it costs 4 for Icy Manipulator and then 1 to activate it. Icy Manipulator is better because it does creatures as well, and artifacts and lands. The Relic Barrier only does artifacts. The Icy Manipulator is a little better because you can tap your opponent's creatures, then kill it with a Royal Assassin, or you can tap down attackers so that they can't hit you. So the Icy Manipulator is arguably better, but you need 4 mana to cast it and then 1 more to activate it, totaling 5, where the Relic Barrier just taps. So 2 mana, you can cast it and then tap it to turn the Winter Orb off. You can also tap it to turn the Howling Mine off, and negating your opponent's ability to draw a card. You can also use it to tap your opponent's artifact during their untap or their upkeep step, so that they have to spend their mana on their Moxen, or maybe their Mana Rocks or Felwar Stone. They can force them to tap it for mana during your upkeep, you know, where they'd lose their mana. So the Relic Barrier for $9 has got a pretty good case going for it. It's also good in old school because it's not $158 and it's printed in the right time period. This one, Legends, 1994, that's on the table for old school, no problem. Liberator Urza's Battlethopter is actually running copies of the Relic Barrier. I don't know why this card isn't more money. Fifth Dawn, it got a reprint, and it was up to, what? Get out of here, $199. Let's still pull back the chart on this Relic Barrier. You know what? A cheap pickup from Legends, an original black bordered version of this card would look nice in your collection. What do you think? It was as high as $50 at one point in time. If it's got a use case in a place, in a deck, in your face, get it. $9 for a Relic Barrier from Legends. Where can we get it? We can get it from the vendor shop, mint condition for $9. Very nice copy. You can get it for even cheaper. $5.55 over at TCG Player. A decent card's playable in old school. If you thought about playing old school, if you've never thought about playing old school, maybe get yourself a copy of the Relic Barrier. Get yourself a revised copy of the Winter Orb, because that's the one you can play. It's $10 and $4.20. $14.20 for this card, the Winter Orb. Combo decks are running it. The Stasis deck was running it back in the day. It's a card that's definitely seen. And these little orbs, like, I love the Winter Orb. Like, look at the Winter Orb. It's like Mark Tiden art again. It's a very cold orb, and then like just did such a good job on this. The one hungry grizzly bear, or the hungry polar bear, sort of roaring at us, and then like the happy one next to it. Very interesting card. Douglas Schuler giving us the Icy Manipulator. Amy Weber giving us another version of the Icy Manipulator, as well as one more card. Let's look at one more card. Time Twister. Here's a card I want to look at. I just want to look at Magic 30 anniversary. So we got the Collector's Edition, Magic 30. See what's funny about these Magic 30 cards? There's no pricing support here. They haven't put pricing on it. The Collector's Edition, yes, Magic 30 retro frame. Let's put that one up and see. No pricing. They won't give you a price for it. Yeah, there's no pricing for it. It just shows decks using it. Why are people shying away from the pricing on Magic 30 cards? These guys won't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. They won't give you pricing on it. They won't say it's worth anything. Probably because it's controversial, I guess. Well, let's look. Which one's the expensive one? The one that they're talking about. $1,300 for the Collector's Edition? Which one? Time Twister Collector's Edition. This card's going to keep selling. All right, let's take a look here. This one, is it playable in Commander? Commander legal. Yes, some folks will allow you to play Collector's Edition cards. Time Twister being one of them. And I'll tell you what, as one of the Power 9, I recognized this early when Commander started to be taken off in popularity. This is the one card in the Power 9 that's playable in Commander. So if you're going to get any one of them, this is the one to get. Right now, the Collector's Edition, wow, it was $2,800 and has actually come down quite a bit. Seemingly backing up to around Strixhaven, where we're starting to see price support for this one. $1,300, they don't even have it at the vendor store. You can get it on TCG Player in the secondary market. So there is some interesting cards, and I'm going to leave you with this one more card here. This card is a card I need to get for the reserve list collection. It's so expensive though, and look at it go. Let's pull back the chart. Let's take a look here. This has been trending down just a little bit over the last couple of months. Since January 2021, it's on a downward trajectory. I can't think of, like, I don't know about you, but this was drawn by the art director for Wizards of the Coast for many years. This card was illustrated by the head guy in charge, the art director, Jesper Murfors, but I'm convinced that I could almost give you something similar. I could almost give you like something similar. I could almost illustrate this card. Almost. It's almost at my level where I think I could do it. Maybe not. Maybe I'm seeing something that you don't. But this card's really cool. Okay, I want to iterate that. For 2 black, you get an instant that says, look at target opponent's hand, choose a card from it, and then you control that player until word of the command is finished resolving. So the original Mindslaver card, right? Let's check this out. That player plays the card if able. While doing so, the player can activate mana abilities only if they're from lands the player controls, and only if mana they produce is spent to activate other mana abilities of lands the player controls, and to play that card. If the chosen card is cast as a spell, you control the player while the spell is resolving. You make all decisions about that. That's my Uncle Greg after cleaning the chimney. Illustrate it on Sunday's Brody cartoons, right? So this is like the original Mindslaver card, and now I gotta like we gotta go to the Gatherer to check this out. Word of command. Let's go to the Gatherer. Let's go there now. Let's see some of the rulings on this card. The Gatherer. Word of command. It's a decent card. Word of command. Search it. Search it up, Brody. We want to look at some rulings. Here it is. Look at target players. It's a 4.5 star rating. Look at target opponent's hand and choose a card from it. So you get to the instant speed, look at their hand. You can cast this during their turn, right? You're like, I want to play during your turn. I want to take your turn. I want to tap your mana. I want to do stuff. So you control that player until word of command finishes resolving. So you cast this, then you get to look at their hand, then you get to cast another card from their hand, and you get to make all play decisions related to it. All right, the player plays that card if able. While doing so, the player can activate mana abilities only if they're from lands the players control, and only if mana they produce is spent to activate other mana abilities of lands the player controls, and or to play the card. If the chosen card is cast this turn as a spell, you control the player while resolving the spell. So to play a card is to either cast a spell or put a land onto the battlefield using the main phase special action. You do get to choose which lands get tapped. You can make them choose an optional mana generating ability of the land they tap, such as making them tap and sacrifice the land if you untap it. It can't be used to force a player to play a card that isn't in their hand. You control the player while the spell is resolving, which means you get to see anything they can see. If that player is required to search their library as part of playing the card, as part of his resolution, it gets cast, then you get to see the cards in their library as well. Your opponent can't counter the word of command after letting you look at their hand, but they can attempt to counter the spell you force them to cast. Really? They can still attempt to counter a spell that you force them to cast. All right. You may command your opponents to play a land if they have not already done so this turn. You must order your opponent to play the chosen card if it is possible to do so. If there is a non-mana way to cast the spell, such as a pitch spell, you may require that to be used if it is possible to do so. Since the spell is an instant, your opponent gets a chance to respond as normal. Once it resolves, you look at your opponent's hand and choose a card. Note that it's common practice to respond to word of command by using up any spells or mana that you have prior to letting it resolve. During the resolution of the spell, that player plays the chosen card while controlling another player. You can see all their cards. It includes cards in their hand, face down cards, and any cards in the library. I think we already mentioned that. And controlling a player doesn't allow you to look at that player's sideboard. If an effect instructs the player to choose a card from outside the game, you can't have that player choose any card. Word of command. Kind of an interesting card. I don't know if there's any other ways to break it. Like, it's not as good as Emrakul, the Promise End, where you get to do all the shenanigans. You get to tap their lands. You get to attack. You get to do all these things. But it's close. It's like the first Mindslaver type. I think this was like the inspiration for like a Mindslaver type card. Like Emrakul, the Promise End, or the Mindslaver card itself. Pretty cool card. I like it. It's got awesome art on it, very difficult to draw, and I appreciate it. I think I might have to do one myself. And that's what we're talking about here today on the morning show. Some Elephant Graveyard. Oh. Let's do it. Thank you, folks, for joining me here this morning. It's May the 5th. It's Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo here on the morning show. Thanks for joining me, folks. Amazing fans, subscribers of Magic the Gathering, people who love the game as much as I do. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Is there enough information out there, or is there too much information? Let me do it for you. I'm here each and every day on the channel, giving you folks something to talk about with some morning Magic the Gathering stocks and some Magic the Gathering talks. It's the Brody, the Bro to the D. Thanks for joining me on Cinco de Mayo here. It's Friday. Bring a friend to Magic. And let me tell you, if you can't bring a friend to Magic, bring a friend to Brody's. Send them over here. Help hit the like and the subscribe button. We're gathering subscribers, the most fantastic, highest quality fans of Magic the Gathering who enjoy a little conversation in the morning and like to talk, shop talk, or Magic talk here with me, the Brody. Be careful out there. Whatever you do, it's Friday. Don't take any wooden nickels, right? Don't take any wooden nickels and soggy pickles. Nothing but nothing but fun on Friday. Do you know what comes after Black Friday? Broke Sunday. That's right. And what do Eskimos do on a Friday night? Net, fish, and chill. All right. Why don't people like jokes about Friday? Because they're weak. And what's faster than the Flash? Friday nights. I gotta go. Enjoy your day. Thanks for spending some time with me this morning. Spread some peace, love, and happiness out in the Magic the Gathering community. It's Brody Alfonso on the morning show. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Have a good day, everybody. Sleep up your deck. Head out to Friday Night Magic.